Welcome to Talk Treatises. Today we are attempting something. Well, something pretty ambitious. We're going to tackle a book that was essentially a rescue mission for Western philosophy. We are diving into Immanuel Kant's critique of judgment.
It really was a rescue mission. I mean, it's a dense, difficult, but just an incredibly beautiful text published in 1790.
And to really get why it matters, you have to understand the problem Kant had created for himself.
Exactly. By 1790, he had effectively split the human experience into two totally separate pieces, and he desperately needed this book to glue them back together.
Right, so let's set the stage. Kant was already a philosophical rock star by this point. He'd written the Critique of Pure Reason,
which was all about the realm of nature, science, physics. It gave us this universe that was basically a giant deterministic machine.
Cause and effect.
Strict cause and effect. In that world, there's no room for freedom. Everything is just determined by the laws of physics.
But then he wrote the Critique of Practical Reason, which is all about morality, freedom, and duty. That book told us we are free agents, that we make choices.
So there's the problem. You've got a physical world that runs on these strict mechanical laws with zero freedom. And then you have a moral world inside our heads that absolutely requires freedom.
CQ's contradiction.
Kant called it an immeasurable gulf between them. It was as if the concept of nature and the concept of freedom were living in two completely different universes that couldn't possibly talk to each other.
This seems like a really stressful way to see things. On one hand, I'm just a bag of chemicals reacting to stimuli. On the other, I'm a moral being. How do those coexist?
That is the headache, and that's why he wrote the Critique of Judgment, to build a bridge. He wanted to find the coping stone that unites our experience of the natural world with our inner sense of moral freedom.
And his big tool for this, his bridge-building material, is judgment. Specifically, how we deal with pleasure and pain.
I know, it sounds like a weird place to start. We usually think of pleasure as just, a fleeting feeling. But for Kant, the faculty of judgment is this middle ground between our understanding how we know things and our reason how we figure out our duties.
And he starts with aesthetics, the study of the beautiful.
He does. Let's get into part one, the analytic of the beautiful. Kant kicks it off by trying to define taste, and he mostly does it by telling us what taste is not.
Okay, so taste is the faculty of judging the beautiful. But what does beautiful even mean?
Well, to get there, he has to strip everything else away. He makes this really strict distinction between three kinds of satisfaction: the pleasant, the good, and the beautiful.
This breakdown actually helped me understand why I can argue with someone for hours about a movie, but never about pizza toppings.
Right. Let's start with the pleasant. It's purely physiological. Animal gratification. Eating a steak, drinking some wine. Kant's example was canary wine. If I say this wine is pleasant and you say, it's too sweet for me, we don't argue.
No, you just say to each his own taste.
Exactly. It's subjective. And importantly, it's interested. I have an interest in that wine existing so I can drink it. As he says, hunger is the best sauce.
Okay, that makes sense. Then you have the good.
The good is also interested, but in a different way. We want the good to exist because it serves a purpose. A good hammer drives nails, or because it's morally right. We have a stake in it.
But then comes the beautiful. And this is where Kant says the satisfaction we get has to be entirely disinterested.
This is the part people really struggle with. To judge something as beautiful in the purest sense, you cannot care if it actually exists. You can't want to own it or eat it or use it. You're only concerned with the representation of it in your mind.
Wait, hold on. So if I see a beautiful painting of fruit and I think, man, that fruit looks delicious.
Kant would say in that moment, your mouth starts watering, you've slipped out of the aesthetic and back into the pleasant. You're thinking about your stomach, not the form of the painting. Pure beauty demands a kind of contemplative distance.
So if I'm looking at a Ferrari and thinking, I want to drive that, I'm not judging it as beautiful.
Precisely. You're judging it as a pleasant object to own or use. Beauty lets us appreciate something just for its form. But this leads to the central paradox of the whole book.
Which is?
With the wine, we say everyone has their own taste. But when we say this sunset is beautiful, we don't just mean I like it.
No, definitely not. If I say this is beautiful and you say meh, I feel like you're missing something. I feel like you should agree with me.
Kant calls this subjective universality. It's subjective because it's based on a feeling of pleasure, not a fact like 2 + 2 = 4. But it's universal because we impute agreement to everyone else. We demand it.
But why? Why do I assume my feeling should be your feeling?
Because Kant thinks that feeling comes from the basic architecture of the human mind. He calls it the free play of the faculties.
Okay, free play sounds fun, but what's actually playing here?
It's a dance between your imagination and your understanding. Normally, your imagination gathers up sensory data colors, shapes, and your understanding just slaps a concept on it. That's a dog. That's a clock. It follows a rule.
So my brain is just categorizing stuff all day.
Right. But with a beautiful object, something else happens. The imagination presents this form that looks like it should have a concept, it looks organized, but the understanding can't pin it down to one single rule.
It's not a math problem to be solved.
Exactly. So the two parts of your mind are just in harmony. The object looks like it has a form, but it doesn't have a job description. Kant calls this purposiveness without purpose. That harmony creates a feeling of pleasure that we assume every other human with the same cognitive hardware must also feel.
Okay, so beauty is this nice, harmonious feeling. But Kant doesn't just stop with the pretty stuff. He gets into the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
The sublime.
Part 2, the analytic of the sublime. And this is where that bridge between nature and freedom really starts to take shape. Beauty is about form, limits, quality. The sublime is about the formless, the boundless, the immense.
He breaks it down into two types, right? The mathematical and the dynamical.
Yeah. The mathematical is the absolutely great. We're talking about the Milky Way, the vastness of the ocean, things so large our imagination just snaps trying to take it all in at once.
And the dynamical.
That's nature as might, pure power, volcanoes, hurricanes, raging waterfalls.
And he says this feeling is a negative pleasure. It starts with fear, basically, and then becomes a rush of strength. What's going on there?
It's a two-step process. First, the physical part of us, our sensibility, is humiliated. The storm makes us feel tiny, fragile, helpless. But, and this is so crucial, provided you're in a safe place.
Right, you can't be about to die.
You can't. But from that safe place, this physical smallness wakes up our reason with a capital R. It reminds us that there's a part of us that isn't physical. We have a moral destination, a freedom that is superior to all of nature. The storm can crush my body, but it can't touch my moral principles.
That's a really powerful thought. So the sublime is a reminder that we aren't just animals. The storm is big, but my mind is bigger.
That's it. Beauty makes us feel at home in the world. The sublime makes us feel superior to it. But he notes that the sublime requires culture. An uncultivated person just sees a mountain range as a terrifying obstacle.
Which brings us to how humans create these experiences. Art.
Right. And Kant has this great little formula. Nature is beautiful when it looks like art, and art is beautiful when it looks like nature.
It has to look free, effortless. If you can see the poet sweating over the rhymes, it kills it. And the person who can do that is a genius.
And he's very specific about what genius is. It's a natural gift that gives the rule to art. Genius is original, not imitation. And it's exemplary. It sets a new standard. But the really interesting part is that the genius can't explain how they do it.
They can't write a how to be a genius manual?
Nope. It's nature acting through the subject. It's a mystery even to the artist.
Speaking of mysterious reactions, we have to talk about his theory of laughter. It's so strange to find a philosopher analyzing a joke.
I love this part. He says laughter is an affection arising from the sudden transformation of a strained expectation into nothing.
Into nothing.
It is. If the expectation turned into something good, we'd be pleased. If it was something bad, we'd be sad. But when the tension builds and then poof, it just evaporates into nonsense, we laugh.
He uses that joke about the merchant whose wig turns gray from grief.
Yes. You expect a tragic physiological outcome, his hair turned gray, but instead you get a wig. The expectation just dissolves. And Kant, ever the German, even points out the health benefits, the motion of the diaphragm and all that.
So we've done beauty, the sublime, art, and laughter. But that's just the first half of the book. There's a whole second part. Teleological judgment.
This is where we cross the bridge from art into the philosophy of science. And Kant is grappling with the problem of organisms. Mechanism, cause, and effect can explain a planet's orbit, but it can't explain a blade of grass.
This is that famous line, isn't it? He says it's absurd to hope for a Newton who could explain a blade of grass by natural laws unordered by design. Why is grass so special?
Because an organism is both the cause and effect of itself. A tree grows itself, maintains itself, reproduces itself. The parts of a watch don't build each other. The parts of an organism do.
So if mechanical physics can't explain life, what's the alternative? Do we just say God did it?
Not quite. And this is probably the most important distinction in the whole book. He separates determinate judgment from reflective judgment.
Okay, this is technical. Let's break it down.
Determinate judgment says, this is how the world works. Gravity is a fact. Reflective judgment says, I have to look at the world as if it works this way in order to understand it.
So we have to wear purpose-colored glasses.
That's a perfect way to put it. We can't prove nature has a purpose, but we can't do biology unless we assume it does. We have to treat the eye as if it were designed for seeing, even if we can't prove a designer in a lab.
It's a tool for our minds, not a fact about the universe.
A regulative principle. And because of how our minds work, we are forced to think of a supreme understanding as the cause. But, and this is the classic Kantian move, this only proves God for our judgment, not as an objective fact.
And this all builds to his final point. If nature looks like a system, what is the whole system for? What's the final purpose?
This is the climax. He asks, who is nature for? And it can't be for our happiness. Nature is often cruel. It doesn't seem to care if we're happy.
So if the world isn't a vacation resort for us, what is it?
It must be for man as a moral being. The only thing with unconditional worth in the whole world, for Kant, is the goodwill. Our ability to make moral choices.
And this leads to his moral proof of God.
Exactly. The argument is, our reason demands we strive for the highest good, a world where morality and happiness line up perfectly.
But they don't. Bad things happen to good people all the time.
Right. So to make sense of our moral duty, we have to postulate to assume a moral author of the world, a God who can eventually guarantee that harmony.
So we can't prove God with a telescope, but we have to assume God exists to keep our moral compass from just spinning uselessly.
That's it. It's rational faith, and that completes the bridge. We feel the world's unity through beauty, and we think it's unity through purpose. The gulf is spanned.
That is a massive intellectual achievement. Okay, let's take these 18th century ideas and run them through some modern scenarios. It's time for our thought experiments.
And as always, a disclaimer. This segment is for entertainment and educational purposes only. We're really just pushing these ideas to see what happens.
Experiment 1. The perfect android artist. So we build an android. It has perfect understanding, all the data, all the color theory, the math is flawless. But it has no super-sensible substrate, no moral freedom, no soul, just code.
Okay, I'm with you.
This android creates a painting that is, by all objective measures, perfect. Composition, color, form, all flawless. Can we call this painting beautiful in the Kantian sense?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think Kant would have to say no.
Why not? It's perfect.
Yeah, because for Kant, beauty is a symbol of morality. It's this hint that we are more than just machines. If the artist is a machine, the symbol breaks. He would probably say the android produces something pleasant or maybe technically perfect, but not beautiful. Beauty requires the communicability of a shared human feeling. The android has no feeling to communicate.
So AI art for Kant is just empty form. It's imitation, not genius, because there's no subject for nature to work through.
I think that's where he would land, yeah.
Okay, experiment 2. The mechanical blade of grass. Kant said we'd never find a Newton of grass. But let's say in the future we do. A scientist explains life completely through blind mechanical chemical laws. No purpose is needed at all.
A fully reductionist biology.
Yes. What happens to the critique of judgment? Does the whole bridge just collapse?
Well, the reflective judgment, those purpose-colored glasses, they would become useless. We wouldn't need to assume purpose anymore because we would know the mechanism.
So the gulf between nature and freedom would vanish.
Or it would become infinitely wide. I mean, if biology is just mechanism, then we are just machines. And if we're just machines, moral freedom might be an illusion. If that's an illusion, then the whole moral proof for God's existence, it just falls apart.
So by explaining everything scientifically, we could paradoxically destroy the rational basis for faith.
That's the danger he saw. He needed that little bit of mystery, that space where we have to assume purpose but can't know it, to preserve a space for human dignity and moral worth.
It really shows how high the stakes were for him. This wasn't just about pretty flowers. It was about keeping the universe hospitable for humanity.
That's the whole synthesis. The third critique tells us the world isn't just a cold machine. It's a stage for moral action. And beauty is the hint, the whisper that we actually belong here.
A comforting thought to end on. That wraps up our deep dive into Kant's critique of judgment.
Keep judging and keep thinking.
Goodbye.